Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour, the most dangerous show on the airwaves, attorney generals across the U.S. planned to sue President Trump 7 months before he was elected. And more homeless problems of squatters moving into buildings in Seattle. But before we get to any of that, time for some breaking news right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI, breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Nothing like having an entire show ready to go, and then 15 minutes before airtime, some court documents and breaking news come out to throw the whole thing out of whack. So Aaron Farinacci, he's a 37-year-old suspect in the Spokane fires, the convicted murderer from Arizona who killed his father after a debate over the dishes. Well, he's in court literally right now. The hearing just started right now at 3 o'clock. So we're going to have more details on this, but right before he went into that courtroom, they released the court documents to the media. And so now we're looking at these court documents. We are digesting them in real time. But here's what we know so far, that Aaron Farinacci, according to the court documents, admitted to starting 25 other fires since last July, including the Aubrey White fire on July 6th and the Menage fire on July 8th. Detectives have corroborated evidence indicating that Farinacci started at least 4 of the 25 fires he had described, according to the court documents. Meanwhile, Governor Jay Inslee still claiming that it's climate change. Still claiming that. Doubling, tripling, quadrupling down that it was climate change. Well, a fellow named Climate Change is sitting in jail in Spokane County. I'm sorry, he's not in jail. He's sitting in a courtroom right now in Spokane County. Jay, if you want to go meet your arch enemy, Climate Change. Farinacci told a Spokane County Sheriff's detective that he spent 2 weeks planning the fire he started Saturday, and that he chose the day because it was especially windy, hot, and dry. He said he picked the grassy, tree-lined area, specifically near Old Trails Road, because he knew the fire was gonna get bad, but claimed he didn't intend for it to grow as large as it did. Detective reported the man told him he feels like fire is powerful and beautiful, and that arson is an easy crime to get away with. The man allegedly said he always carries marijuana or cigarettes to use as an arson alibi in case he is caught with a lighter or matches near one of the fires. The 4 other fires the detectives found evidence the man had allegedly started included July 6, 2025 blaze at Riverside State Park that burned more than 1,200 acres and prompted evacuation orders. Farinacci also confessed to setting another fire 2 days later in West Spokane that forced residents of nearby homes and apartment complexes, including his own, to evacuate. Prosecutors on Wednesday requested to charge him with 4 more counts of first-degree arson and may seek additional charges once the full extent of his actions is known. This is the guy that Jay Inslee is claiming is climate change. How many of the fires in the past 10 years were started by arson that Jay Inslee claimed were climate change? Oh, by the way, something fun here for all of you. You know how yesterday we told you that Jay Inslee had doubled down on claiming it was climate change? So here's what he did on Monday. Let's just go back in time for a second. On Monday, he posts this video.
Morning here in Lopez Island, but I'm so concerned. Talked to my friend, a legislator in Spokane, whose home he had to evacuate because of these massive fires in Spokane County. The whole state's under threat now, climate change. You know, climate change isn't some existential global thing. It's our neighbors, it's our friends. We had to fight for them.
Okay, so former Governor Jay Inslee posts that, and we already knew at that time that it was human-caused. I already knew that because I read a few reports on the fires themselves, but human-caused Can mean arson. It can mean fireworks. It can mean chains off a truck. It could mean a campfire. It could mean anything. But Jay Inslee immediately goes to climate change. What happens? We find out Monday afternoon a suspect is in custody for arson and that he started the Spokane fires. I believe 3 of them. Now we know it's a lot more. But this guy is in custody, and Jay Inslee doubles down. And he writes, when you hear suspected arson, it's easy to think that wildfire has nothing to do with climate change. While severe drought, low snowpack, and heat didn't ignite this fire, they are why it's so big, destructive, and fast. So basically, after every news outlet making fun of him for claiming it's climate change, when it wasn't climate change, when Spencer Pratt is out there saying, yeah, this idiot governor is saying the same things they said in Los Angeles about the Palisades fires and the Malibu fires, and none of those were climate change. One was caused by an arsonist. Another one was caused by utility equipment malfunctioning, sparking. Jay Inslee's now doubling down on that. But what I found entertaining, so I didn't notice this yesterday. I was going to do some fun graphic work with his post, and then when you zoom in a little bit here, he pulled out an article, which he sourced because he wanted to quote. And this article, he wants to put at the bottom here. He even highlights this. While climate change does not directly ignite wildfires, it makes them more likely to spread rapidly and become more destructive once they start. So he's looking for somebody to back him up, right? Hey, he didn't put the name of the outlet up top. You know, sometimes you see people take the Seattle Times or Como News and put that up top. Instead, in little itty bitty teensy tiny letters at the very, very bottom here, I see from Al Jazeera. Hang on. Hang on. So, you could have found this in a legit source, Jay, but instead you got this off Al Jazeera. You could only find the anti-American, anti-Semitic terror mouthpiece of Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran to back up what you're saying. Oh, I forgot. Al Jazeera bought Al Gore's climate change network for $1 gajillion years ago. That should have been your first clue. Something was up with that. So that's their big thing. Terrorism and climate change. That's Al Jazeera. That's their thing. So that's who Jay Inslee is quoting here. Al Jazeera, because they're the only ones that agree with him. Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. So now we know it wasn't climate change. And in fact, what was funny to me, Governor Bob Ferguson was on CNN earlier today, and he's directly giving a rebuttal to what Jay Inslee claimed. You know, the guy who said, I endorse him, the guy who basically said to him, here's the keys to the governor's mansion, just move on in. Here's what Bob Ferguson said this morning on CNN.
If I was someone who lost everything, my home and everything, to think that this happened intentionally by an individual, that it wasn't because of a lightning strike or, you know, caused by nature in some way, I just have to believe it adds to the absolute anguish that so many Washingtonians are experiencing. And just to be clear, just so your viewers are aware, these are neighborhoods right in the city of Spokane. And these are entire neighborhoods where, to look at the images, and you have images on CNN, by the way, it looks like a bomb went off. It's been described by many as looking like a war zone. And that's the only way to describe it. So these are just neighborhoods right in the city, totally wiped out in a space of just a few hours. So it's a very dire situation for many, many individuals.
Here's my thing. Would you feel better if it was lightning? God did it. Nature did it. There's nothing that's going to make anybody feel better about this. There really isn't. Whether it's climate change or anything else, whatever it is, nothing's going to make you feel better about it. Nothing at all. But now that you know there's somebody you can blame, then you feel a little bit better. I mean, tragic and awful, but avoidable as well. So a guy who was convicted of killing his own father was released early because of mental health issues down in Arizona. somehow ended up here in Washington, in Spokane, Washington, and has been a firebug for at least the last 2 years that we know about, possibly more than that. The hearing's going on right now. We're going to find out if he pleads guilty. I mean, he's admitting everything, so is he just going to plead guilty? Or is his public defender going to tell him, don't plead guilty, we'll get you insanity, and then we'll get you locked up because you have a history of mental health issues, and this is a person who needs to be kept away from the public for the rest of their natural lives. This is a person with bad wiring. This is a person who is clearly a damage to themselves and others. The question is society's tolerance going to let him go? Because think about this for a second. The thing with the parents made international news in 2010. I found the old articles. It was everywhere. Kid kills his parents because he doesn't want to do the dishes. You would think that his release would make international news too. But no, 10 years go by, other stories happen. It was in the middle of COVID. For all we know, because the court docs are sealed, we don't know a lot. Was he one of the people who was released during COVID to cut down on prison crowding because otherwise you might get the flu? We don't know. They claim it was either because of the defense requested the documents be sealed or because of mental health issues. For all we know, this guy was released the same way Jay Inslee during COVID wanted to release the Green River Killer and only got stopped because there was so much pushback to it. Perhaps nobody knew the kid who killed his parent was one of the people being released down in Arizona. We don't know that. We don't know that right now. And here's something else. Where was this guy living? I have the address of where he was arrested. One of our listeners has sent me an email, and I haven't verified this yet. I'm going to spend time after the show today verifying this. That our friend, the guy who set all these fires, may have been a guest of Homeless Inc. We don't know. We will do our due diligence. We will verify all this. But this actually, if true, and I have a lot of stuff to go through from this listener because our listeners are the best source of information we have, it corroborates something that I'd gotten earlier in the week, that this person may have been on services from Homeless Inc. And if that's the case, then Homeless Inc. has a hand to play in all this. The judge who released him, for reasons we don't entirely know, has a hand in all this. All these failed policies culminating at once, and Jay Inslee, if you want to really blame climate change for this, you have a hand in all this. Because you were Captain Planet. You were the climate avenger. You were that governor. And what did you do to actually mitigate the effects of climate change? While Jay Inslee was in office, climate change got worse. Washington's CO2 levels got worse. And all he did was pass a tax that spiked your gas prices so it could be used on pet projects for his buddies who went off to form nonprofits and tell people how to get nonprofit grants, like former state senator Reuben Carlisle. Because over 90% of the money from the Climate Commitment Act went to these nonprofit organizations that did absolutely nothing to fight climate change. So, Jay, if you were so serious about this, you could have built dams, you could have built reservoirs, could have done any of that. Wasn't the Climate Commitment Act created allegedly so that you could combat, mitigate the effects of climate change, of fires, of floods? Well, we had floods last year. We got fires this year. Doesn't seem like your little plan is working. You were in office for 12 years, and you didn't do anything to fix any of this. Matt Gilbert says on the text line, do you think that the lawyer is going to use the Billy Joel defense? We didn't start the fire. That's very good. That's very, very, very good. I like that one, Matt. Might have text of the day right off the bat here. But Jay Inslee still claiming it's climate change after this guy admitted to starting 25 fires. 25 fires. He's admitting to it. 25 fires. So we will find out what he pled to today, if he's pleading guilty, if he's pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. We'll have those updates for you later in the show because the hearing's going on right now. So we'll get those updates later for you. But right now, the fact that he tried claiming it was climate change. Now, here's a question I have for all of you. Do you think that Bob Ferguson right now, because he knew it wasn't climate change, do you think that after this, after everything's died down and this guy's on trial and it's over and he goes to jail or mental health hospital or whatever it is, do you think that that's when Bob Ferguson and Maria Cantwell and everybody on the left is going to start saying, climate change, climate change, climate change? You have to hold them accountable for their lies. For their lies. Like right now, if Bob Ferguson has a press conference, I would raise my hand and I would say, excuse me, Governor, you said that the Climate Commitment Act was going to mitigate the effects of climate change. What have you actually done to mitigate the effects of floods and fires? Because we've had both. Climate Commitment Act has been in effect for 3 years now, and all we've seen are higher gas prices and over 90% of the money going to nonprofit organizations and former Democrats. Do you think that anybody in that press room will actually ask that question? Or how about this, Governor Ferguson? You're always talking about infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. We need more reservoirs. We need more dams because the West Coast is boom or bust when it comes to water. So are you going to build more reservoirs? Are you going to build more dams with money from the Climate Commitment Act? Or are you going to keep funneling it to your nonprofit buddies? Hey, Governor, if you're not going to use the money from the Climate Commitment Act, can you refund it to all of us? Because clearly it's not accomplishing anything. I look out my window right now, and all I see is a wall of smoke. I think this is the worst day we've had so far. All I'm seeing is a wall of smoke. And it's not because of climate change. It's because of bad forest management. Wait a minute. Didn't the Washington State Legislature cut funding for firefighting, forest fire prevention a couple sessions ago? Oh, yeah, they did. Didn't they stop all the logging where the loggers are the ones who actually clear forests, do prescribed burns together with the state? They're the ones who have planes that fly over looking for fires. They're the ones that want to protect their crops and take care of their forests and help when these things happen. And then you get their money for taxes for schools. But you got rid of all that. And if you want to ramp that up again tomorrow, you have to create an entire industry because loggers have moved to other places, not here, because they know you're just going to be at war with them. It's going to take years to make up for this. You're not going to be able to. You're going to have to go out of state to find loggers who want to come here because you destroyed the industry here. You know, I almost had to laugh yesterday. Governor Bob Ferguson sent out a press release. I was shocked I got it, Kevin. I get taken off that list all the time. I was shocked I got it. They had a steel cutting ceremony in Florida. I'm like, what are you doing this for? For the ferries. For the ferries that we had to buy in Florida. Why? Because Jay Inslee said, I want to build electric ferries. Governor, our ferries are already electric diesel. No diesel. We have to plug them in. Need really big extension cords, big batteries. Governor, I don't know if we can do that. No, we'll find somebody in Washington. We have the best shipbuilders, best boat builders. Governor, we asked them and none of them can actually build this. Ooh. Okay, make them build it. Force them to build it. Seize the means of production. Governor, they're not going to do it, and they're your union buddies. Oh, okay. Guess we're not going to do it. No, we'll convert the ones we have. I know they're falling apart. We'll make them work again. Governor, that's going to be triple the price, and we're not sure we can get them to work right. Silence, peasants. I know what I'm doing. That's really how this went. And then Ferguson comes into office. And Ferguson goes, yeah, well, it's too expensive to build ships here. I guess we're going to go build them in Florida. So your taxpayer dollars are now going to Florida to build the boats because Jay Inslee is incompetent. Bob Ferguson refuses to do anything about Jay Inslee's incompetence. He's only doubling down on it. And that's where you're in the situation you're at right now. So if you tried to restart logging, it would take years to rebuild that industry. And in the meantime, how many fires are there going to be? This is not because of climate change. This is because of government virtue signaling. This is because of government incompetence. That's why we have these fires, because these bad policies allowed a killer to come to Washington and start lighting these fires where he had done it before, been interviewed by the police before, been released before. So ask yourselves, how could this happen? It's like the meme where the dude shoots the guy in the head and goes, how did he die? I don't know. You're watching that in real time, literally right now. This insanity does not stop in Olympia. Of course, it travels all the way here to Seattle. Speaking of the homeless, a whole bunch of homeless vagrants moved into an abandoned property, hooked up electricity, hooked up everything before the police found them. Did it burn down? We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Well, fires aren't just happening out in Spokane. They're happening right here in Seattle. According to Como News, Seattle police are investigating after firefighters found a body while responding to a brush fire Wednesday evening along the Mountains to Sound Trail. Does that sound like it's a person just out for a walk? A jogger, like in Law and Order? Why is it always a dead jogger? Or the jogger finds the body? There's always a jogger involved, or a garbage man. Garbage man, jogger. That's unless it's one of the active shooting ones that they have in Law and Order where somebody hears the gunshots. Whenever they find a body, right? Oh, we're talking about something mindless that has nothing to do with this. Oh, we're not going to find out the end of what those people are talking about. There's a dead body right there. Yeah. What do you want to bet the person found in a brush fire? What you want to guess? Should we just say drug addict? Or do we say homeless? Or do we say convicted felon, drug addict, and homeless? Do we say all of the above? Do we have any guesses from our audience at home? According to Seattle Police, According to Seattle Police, Seattle Fire Department crews respond to a brush fire near South Holgate Bridge around 6:26 p.m. What's near the South Holgate Bridge? What do you think's over there? Come on, there's a bridge. There's a part under the bridge. If you know that bridge at all, there's homeless people down there. Who could it have been? Who could it have been? Who was in the fire? I don't know. After extinguishing the fire, firefighters discovered the partially burned body of an adult and notified Seattle police. Is a drug addict that fell asleep in the woods with like their crack pipe still burning? Police said they could not determine the person's gender at the scene. Yikes. That's how badly burned they were. That's pretty awful. Investigators also could not say how long the body had been there or whether the burns made the victim unidentifiable, noting that the King County Medical Examiner's Office had not yet arrived. I can see how this goes down. All right, go get it. I'm not touching that. You don't. No, get the ME. Get the medical exam. They're going to I'm not touching that. Just throw some over it. Throw some caution tape around it. We'll deal with it that way. So for all you know, somebody threw a cigarette out of a car, started a brush fire, and there was a homeless dead body in there already, or an addict dead body in there already. You don't even know. Seattle Police Department dispatched homicide detectives, crime scene investigation detectives, and public information officer to the scene. They said the circumstances were suspicious enough to warrant a homicide investigation, though the cause and manner of the person's death have not yet been determined. It was not immediately clear whether the brush fire was connected to the death. Send me out there. I'll figure this out in 2 seconds. I will figure this out. Medical examiner will just confirm my findings. I am that much of an expert at this point. In a post on X, Seattle Police Department said officers were investigating a death on the Mountains to Sound Trail north of Holgate, asked people to avoid the area while detectives process the scene. Well, I got to be honest with you, a lot of people are avoiding that area because of the homeless encampment that's over there. Speaking of our unsheltered neighbors, our taxpayer-funded drug addicts, Seattle police arrested 5 people from a vacant building in the University District this week, where investigators say the occupants had restored electricity and installed a surveillance system. So, Katie Wilson won't put in cameras, but the homeless vagrants, they can put in cameras to protect their warehouse that they have illegally squatted in. Okay. Officers were dispatched around 1:50 p.m. Monday to the 4400 block of 8th Avenue Northeast after the building's owners reported people were living inside. The owners recently discovered the trespassers despite the property being vacant for years. Another building in Seattle that's vacant for years. Police said the occupants had restored power to the building, installed the surveillance cameras, and there were 14 people inside, 5 of them on outstanding felony and misdemeanor warrants from multiple jurisdictions. No, they're just our unsheltered neighbors, right? They got laid off by Jeff Bezos at Amazon. They were in the Salesforce layoffs today. Now they're down on their luck and they had to go live in a vacant building with their children and their pets and I don't know what else, and their teddy bears. How much more pathetic can we make these people sound? In the arms of the angel, far away from here. Right? We just play that music while we talk about these people. We'll do it that way. Police booked a 42-year-old woman, a 39-year-old woman, and 2 32-year-old men into King County Jail on their warrants for trespassing. A 36-year-old man was arrested on a felony warrant and booked at Snohomish County Jail. During the investigation, officers recovered, wait for it, 4 rifles, several magazines, ammunition, drugs, and cash from inside the building. Oh, I'm wrong. They're homeless drug dealers. My bad, sorry. Or is this a drug operation where they have moved in on a drug operation to sell to the homeless? Guys, it's only one of 2 options here. We all know this, right? Seattle Animal Control removed 8 dogs from the property, 4 adult dogs and 4 puppies, and took them to a Seattle animal shelter. Wait, what else can we put on here? Okay, so let's see. The activists in Seattle, they're not mad about the homeless. They're not mad about the guns. They're not mad about the dogs. 3 stolen electric bikes in the backyard. So they hit all your spots, guys. They hit everything you guys claim you care about. And I don't hear you guys saying actually do anything about this. Yeah. I assume, you know what, probably the Antifa mutual aid types, they're probably there going, let's help you set up another drug den next door. There's another abandoned building a block away. We will help you out because they only arrested 5 of these people. That means there are 9 others that are probably living in tents or another abandoned building and are being enabled by the radical activists that live in Seattle or with your taxpayer money. God, I love it here sometimes. Really, just get everything in this one. It's all in the cake. And this whole story has the entire cake, every single ingredient. Up next, my friends, Senator Rand Paul's committee finally holds the Fauci in contempt. A few fireworks at the hearing today. We'll have the audio for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Senator Rand Paul's committee investigating COVID, investigating Fauci, had their vote today to hold Fauci in contempt after he pled the fifth 111 times at a hearing the other day. Now, Rand Paul made it very, very clear why he was doing this. Many people are questioning it, claiming it's politics. Here's what he said.
More than 1 million Americans died from COVID. Many of them died alone. Workers were forced to choose between a mandate and a job they needed. Businesses closed and never reopened. Children lost years of school they will never get back. Americans lost the freedom to work, to worship, and to decide what went into their own bodies. Nothing we do today can undo those losses, but silence does not honor them either.
I think something has gotten lost in all the politics of this. The Constitution says these are your rights, these are our laws, these are the rules. It doesn't say it all goes out the window if there's the flu. Things could have been done with our laws, within the framework of our laws. But instead, everybody was so freaked out, rather than actually doing it, they just went along with it. I always wondered how a whole group of people could go along with something like that, blindly. And that's what happened during COVID. You can't say you have to close your business. You can't say you have to get this vaccine or else you can't go here, there, or the other thing. You can't say in the middle of a contract, hey, here's what we're requiring for your job and it's not in your contract. You can't actually do those things. And yet, all of it was done. People were shamed. They started censoring free speech of anybody who dared to speak out against it while people were dying. So not only did you have a bad response that cost American lives, and yes, the Trump administration had a hand in that. I'm not going to say it's all on them because basically government failed at so many different levels in so many different places across the U.S., and it wasn't a blue or red state thing. People were making bad decisions. People were not following the science. People were following fear. Somebody needs to be accountable for that. And for me, I think that Anthony Fauci has a huge amount of the blame. How many montages did we play of that guy conflicting himself? How many times? And it wasn't because the science changed. It was because the politics changed. You remember when Joe Biden came in after Trump was on the verge of firing Fauci and he never actually did? That's something I hold him accountable for. Biden comes in and Fauci's a king again. And all of a sudden, when he was starting to say, oh, we could ease up on things, no, it was strict lockdowns. Go back to it. Oh, there's a surge. Oh, there's breakthrough cases. You remember all that? Somebody needs to answer for that. Somebody does.
8 days ago, Dr. Anthony Fauci sat before this committee in the witness chair under subpoena for conduct covered by the President Biden's full and unconditional pardon, reaching back to 2014. Dr. Fauci faced no risk of federal prosecution. All he had to do was tell the truth. More than 100 times, though, he refused. The chair ruled that Dr. Fauci's assertion of the Fifth Amendment privilege was unsupported in light of the pardon and the testimony he offered in his opening statement. The chair directed Anthony Fauci to answer. He refused again. That is what we are voting on today.
So that's an important legal point. The legal point is he couldn't really put himself in jeopardy because he'd already been pardoned. So now, according to Rand Paul and his committee, he's created a new violation. Fauci has committed a new offense, and that's obstructing an investigation. That's having contempt of Congress. That's what this is about. We have to talk to some legal experts, which means I need to call some family members. Find out if they actually have some legal grounds to do this. What's interesting, though, is the Democrats aren't saying, hey, guys, you know what? We want the answers, too. Let's find a different way about it. Instead, it's just no, 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 no. And the way that was most clear was during the hearing, the Democrats start saying, you never gave us any information. We can't see your investigation. And Rand Paul brought the receipts.
The record, Anthony Fauci refused a voluntary private deposition, and that's why he was brought in under subpoena.
Because it was going to be one-sided.
Don't interrupt the chair.
Okay, stop right there for a second. Fauci was offered a private deposition. Congress has done that before. Fauci could have avoided the circus. He wanted the circus. He was offered a private deposition and instead chose the public circus. Let's remember that. What would have been worse? You get a news report that we don't know what happened behind closed doors, but we do know that Anthony Fauci pled the Fifth 111 times. Okay, fine. We don't know what else was said in there. Or instead, the hours of film of him pleading the fifth, looking contemptuous of all the Americans who want their questions answered. Here's the rest of that little segment.
Don't interrupt the chair. With regard to access to records, there has been an unprecedented access to records. They have all been uploaded on a website that you were invited to join. You refused to join. You had utter disdain. You never even asked for the password. Not one of you ever signed up. It's been up for over a year. The information is there for the taking. I've repeated it publicly over and over. Don't come to this hearing saying you weren't given the records. The records were given. The clerk will call the roll.
You didn't even bother to log in. Didn't even bother to look at them. You know, people send me a lot of stuff. And sometimes it's contrary to what I believe. Sometimes it's contrary to what I think. At least I look at it. At least I read it before I reject it. They didn't even read it. Didn't even look at it. David says, Ari, the Senate vote to hold Fauci in contempt will die in federal D.C. court. It was formally announced today that Fauci is under formal criminal investigation by the state of Florida for COVID-related state crimes. Right, I saw that. And I actually think that some states are probably going to have to hold Fauci accountable because I don't actually think that D.C. courts actually will. I think that's a very, very fair point. I think that's a very, very good point, David. Appreciate you being part of the show. Up next, my friends, Sophie Cunningham train just keeps on rolling while the WNBA keeps digging itself a bigger and bigger and bigger hole. We'll have the next section of insane audio for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. This stuff with the WNBA just won't go away. And I'll tell you why, because people are calling their bluff. This from the New York Post. French transgender basketball player Julie Titart. Titart? I failed French for 3 years. Let's be real. I wouldn't be able to. Tita. I don't even know. Je ne comprends pas. That's all I know how to say. I don't understand. That is, I don't even know how to say where's the bathroom. I really don't. I was terrible at French. Really awful. So, French transgender basketball player Julie, we're just going to call her Julie, wouldn't turn down an offer to play in the WNBA amid debates on the participation of trans athletes in women's sports. 34-year-old Julie, who came out as trans in October of 2021, currently plays in Monaco. Let me describe this individual for you. You remember when Schwarzenegger was a bodybuilder? You remember that? Okay. You remember the women who were standing next to him and you're like, is that a dude or is that a girl? I mean, it's a girl, but it kind of looks like a dude, right? This one, there's no question. It's a dude. It is a ripped dude playing basketball. So holy cow, this person who's basically just wearing a bra for no reason. Obviously, it's a childhood dream, just like any female basketball player, but unfortunately, it's not possible. The league, yes. The country, no. They don't want to come to America. Yeah, I'm sure if you got enough money from the WNBA, you come to America. The 6'3" center did not elaborate further. I know a lot of tall women. I don't know a lot of tall 6'3" women. I mean, I know they're out there. I know there are some, but come on, guys. So, when asked about Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham's recent remarks on the topic of boys and girls sports. So Cunningham told ESPN she wants to protect young girls in sports who shouldn't have to go up against biological men. Titart said aucun in French, which I'm definitely mispronouncing, which translates to English is none, which was asked, do you have a comment? And he said none. In the 2025-2026 season, Titart led France's second-tier League Two in both scoring and rebounding. Oh, you think? En route to Player of the Year. Woo! Win for the patriarchy. Yes! All right. Defensive Player of the Year and Domestic Player of the Year. Hang on a second. Okay. Michael Jordan in his prime. Did he win all those awards in 1 year? How about it? Larry Bird, Magic, Shaq. Do they win all those awards in 1 year? No, only if you're dominating the league. This is like that stupid movie with Brendan Fraser. What's the Scout? The Scout, where he can hit and he can pitch and he like strikes everybody out, but he also hits home runs for everything. Like, that's not possible. Titart averaged 21.2 points, 20.2 rebounds, and 2 assists per game during the 2025-2026 season. Hey, if I'm the WNBA and I'm all for trans rights, I'm going to say, let's go get this dude. I mean, gal. Let's go get this person. Sign them to the best contract you can. Well, you're not actually going to do it, are you? No, of course not. Of course not. Why not? Why not? We all know the reason why. In fact, Cheryl Reeve, she's the coach of the Lynx. That was the team that the Indiana Fever played when Sophie Cunningham was there and all the brouhaha was happening over the weekend. Cheryl Reeve is the one who wore the Protect Trans Rights t-shirt. Well, she was interviewed shortly after that game on a podcast, and here's what she said.
We had more women coaching college basketball before Title IX, after Title IX, when it became more important and more investment. That was code for.
And you got paid more.
It's a man's job. Got paid more. Became a man's job. And so to this day, we still don't have more women coaching in college basketball than we do men.
Man, that's a problem, isn't it? Men taking your jobs in the women's sports. That's a huge problem. That's a huge, huge problem. Weren't you the one wearing the Protect Trans Rights shirts? Yeah. So if a bunch of trans players wanted to play on your team, would you let them? Would you let them? That's my question. Give me a break here, guys. Give me a break. So Sophie Cunningham continues to be asked about all this after she dared to defend women's sports. And here's what she told the media. I believe this is from ABC just the other day.
I think that there's so much good going on in the WNBA. I think that basketball is being played at the highest level it's ever been. I think our team in specific, we are breaking history right now with the amount of points that we're scoring on back-to-back games. I think the Minnesota game, there's just so much distraction. I think the WNBA media, all we ever do is cover everything except basketball. And it's like, what are we doing? There's so much. Like, you can talk about other things. I think those are great stories. I think it shows fans, who people are outside of the court. But I also think we got to keep the main thing. And I think when it comes to the Minnesota game, I think there's so much distraction. But, like, the matchup between Miles and Kelsey was phenomenal. Our team, that game in particular was a great game. And so I think that there's a lot to be said, and I'm going to let people just do the speaking for themselves. But for me, I want to get back to basketball. It's always been about basketball. That interview happened in February when I was asked a question. And so for me, I just want to, make sure that it stays, the focus stays where it should, because people are playing at such a high level. We have probably like 3 MVPs that could be MVPs on our team specifically. And so that's why I want to do that. No, I was asked a question, and that's simply what it was. I just wasn't making a statement to make a statement. And so I was trying to clear the air, and I did that back in February. And so it is what it is. And like I said, we're in the middle of season. I'm going to keep it that. We talk about a bunch of distraction. Our team is good. My teammates are good. Our locker room is great. And so now we're just here about to prepare for Las Vegas, and that's where our mind is at.
Yeah, you would think that when all the eyes are on the league, you might actually want to talk about the players. You might actually want to talk about the basketball. And you might actually want to say, hey, we're having a moment here. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark. Let's talk about Sophie Cunningham. Let's talk about all the other girls whose names nobody knows. Let's talk about this sport, right? Let's do that. And instead, we continue talking about this because the media is obsessed with, no, she must be wrong. No, she's the devil. No, she's evil because she dared to say, as somebody who plays in a all-women's sports league, that it should be for women only. It's really crazy. It's really, really crazy. Meanwhile, they're talking about, diversity and being inclusive, yet they're mad that there's too many men coaches in the league. They're mad about that. Sophie kind of called that out during a follow-up after the game.
That article was written in February, and like I said, I still stand by what I said. I'll never go back on that. I think this is a great opportunity for the WNBA. They preach diversity and being inclusive, so what a great opportunity for them to actually be that. And so we don't always have to agree. We can still be kind. We can still thrive and be successful in the same area, and I think that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I have been doing.
What do you make of these rallies that have been going on the last few games?
Yeah, I have honestly had nothing to do with them. I think it's people just practicing their rights of freedom of speech and doing what other fans have been doing since the WNBA has started. And so props to them. Props to everyone who's able to be confident and be bold and courageous enough to speak their truths.
What is that truth?
For who?
What do you think that truth is when you say that you support them coming to this rally or creating these rallies? Like when you say you support them living their truth or speaking their truth, what do you mean by that?
I think it's different for everybody. I think your truth is different than my truth, which is different from hers, his, hers, all that. And so I think anytime people are bold enough and courageous enough to stand by what they believe, I think that's awesome.
Sophie, is there any fear that you're causing a distraction for the team?
No.
Why not?
Because I think at the end of the day, I come in and I do my job. I think everyone who knows me personally, they know that I'm full of love, I'm bubbly. I love the people around me. I love basketball. I love inspiring the next generation and doing that in a positive light. And so that doesn't even cross my mind. It doesn't cross my teammates' minds. And again, I'm here to play basketball. But I'm also here to be me, and I'm not gonna shadow that or hide or dim my light just because maybe people don't agree with that.
It's insane to me how many questions she's getting from the media because she dared to say women's sports should be for women. We've got the initiative on the ballot, and now that the primary is over, we can focus on the general election where the initiatives are going to be on the ballot to protect women's sports. This is one of the defining issues of our time, and it never should have been. This never should have been a question. Why did we pass all those civil rights laws to protect women? Why did we do all that if we're not going to protect women's sports? Where's the left now? Where are all the feminists right now? They don't want to protect women's sports. Instead, they're out to protect the patriarchy, which is truly one of the craziest things. If you want to know how backwards crazy it is, you want to know why the Republicans have a shot in the midterms? The Republicans have a shot in the midterms because the Democrats haven't figured out that people still think they're crazy. That is the Republican shot right now, is that people go, nope, it's too crazy even for me. I'm not voting for the people that don't know which bathroom to use. I'm not voting for the people that back the terrorist. I'm not voting for the people that back the member of Al-Qaeda. I'm not voting for these crazy Looney Tunes. I'm not voting for the guy with the Nazi tattoo. Oh, wait, we can't anymore. Not doing that. Not doing it. That is the best argument the Republicans have going into this. Hey, look at them. At least we're not them. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including, right around here, the election. Really bad news, but across the country, there's some really bad bellwethers. We'll tell you what's going on and what it means for Washington when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour on the most dangerous show on the airwaves. So that fire that Jay Inslee claims was climate change. Was it really? Our friend Todd Myers from the Washington Policy Center will be stopping by, plus more election results are dropping in just a few minutes, so we'll have those for you and updated returns. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. That's right. This week, you want to get out of town with all that smoke out there. I could barely see that cruise ship leaving right now. But you can go to Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon or get $3,000 in cold, hard cash. Today's keyword, you have to text to the text line. Do not text your name, do not text your address, do not text your phone number, just the word itself to the number I give you. By the way, somebody this morning texted the word, I went back and checked, Kevin, to my personal cell phone. It's somebody who listens to the show, who's a former member of the government, texted it to my personal cell phone of what the word was at, I think, 8 a.m. or whatever it was. That was kind of funny. Don't text my personal cell phone if you have it. Today's word is spring, as in spring ahead, fall back, as in you might find a spring in Yellowstone, S-P-R-I-N-G, as in a spring in your mattress. Text the word spring, S-P-R-I-N-G, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 for your chance to win. Do not text my cell phone. Now all my friends are going to be like, texting the word to my cell phone. I know how this goes. I set myself up for, oh, there it goes. Now it's buzzing. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Yeah, they're going to make fun of me about that later when they see me. Anywho, switching gears over here. I saw an article that's a Fox News exclusive. And I don't know how many ways there are to tell you I told you so. So this guy, Abdul Al-Sayed, who is now the Democrat nominee for Senate in Michigan, this guy is bad news. I mean, really, really bad news. This is a guy whose father's involved with the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a guy who's got ties to terror. Ties to terror. Remember what happened when a Hezbollah terrorist rammed his car into a Jewish synagogue and daycare in Michigan and opened fire? Here was his response.
When it comes to Temple Israel, I was profoundly shaken. Many of my friends growing up worshiped at Temple Israel. Nothing justifies the heinous attack that we saw on Temple Israel.
Except
I stand in solidarity with my Jewish sisters and brothers for an America where that kind of thing never happens again. I also think it's just critical for us to understand that hurt people do hurt people. And the circumstances happening 6,000 miles away can affect the lives that we live here. And if we stand against violence, we got to stand against violence, all violence.
Oh, I see. So it's terrible that happened, but that dude totally had it coming to him. Those little kids had it coming to him. Totally had it coming to him because, they're Jewish and, Israel and all that bad. Totally had it coming to him, those little kids in a daycare. Totally had it coming. That's Abdul Al-Sayed. That's him. Who is this guy, actually? Ted Cruz revealed it in a Senate hearing yesterday.
Now let's look at the Muslim Brotherhood network today and its influence in the United States today. In fact, just yesterday, Abdul El-Sayed, the son-in-law of a leading member of several Brotherhood groups, won Michigan's Democrat primary for U.S. Senate. Perfect timing for this hearing. Probably explains why no Democrats are here and none intend to attend. Because their campaign is now openly embracing terrorist organizations waging war on America.
We're coming up on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, quarter of a century since 9/11. Sorry for making all of you feel old out there. 25 years since 9/11. And we have a jihadi mayor of New York. You've got a jihadi running in New Jersey, a member of Al-Qaeda running in New Jersey, and you've got this guy, whose father-in-law is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, who justifies terror, running in Michigan. But it's far worse than that. That Fox News story I told you about, I don't know how many ways there are to say I warned you. But you're going to get to play the Ari Hoffman drinking game because we're about to talk about CARE. According to Fox News, Michigan Democratic Senate nominee Abdul El Sayed's campaign has collected more than $115,000 from individuals who work for or have held leadership roles within the Council on American Islamic Relations, which has been designated a terrorist organization by the United Arab Emirates and formally designated or labeled as such in Florida and Texas. I wonder why our own State Department hasn't done it yet, given all these guys' ties to terror. Fox News found that El Sayed, who has made getting money out of politics a central campaign rallying cry, has accepted donations from at least 41 individuals who either work for CARE, formerly worked for CARE, or have served in leadership positions within the organization. The donor list includes several of CARE's highest-ranking officials, including National Board Chair Manakal Fakhri, National Board Treasurer Ayas Abdin, National Vice Chair Ahmad Sabah, and CARE Michigan Board Member Jukaku Tayeb, Al Sayed's father-in-law. Tayeb has been one of the largest financial backers of Super PAC, supporting El Sayed's campaign, and is also part of the founding committee of the Islamic Society of North America, a group linked to Hamas and Muslim Brotherhood funding. One donor, CARE Executive Director Nihad Awad, listed in FEC records under the name Nihad Hamad, drew national condemnation after saying he was happy to see October 7th. That's right, the massacre. He also says Israel does not have the right to self-defense. The contributions were not limited to Michigan. Fox News identified donations from CARE national leaders and officials affiliated with chapters in California, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, Washington, Illinois, Minnesota, and Ohio, among other states, illustrating the breadth of support El Sayed received from within the organization's leadership ranks. Other names on the donor list include CARE California Governance Board Treasurer Rubina Alvi, CARE California Governance Board Chair Assad Trena, CARE Michigan Board Member Muzamil Ahmed, who contributed $11,600 to his campaign, CARE California Governance Board Member Atef Ibrahim, CARE California Governance Board Member Dina Ezzedine, and former CARE National Board Chair Rula Aluch. El Sayed has maintained ties to CARE beyond campaign fundraising. In 2022, he appeared at a CARE event and was paid for a speaking engagement where he criticized Oklahoma's ban on Sharia law, compared it to the Trail of Tears. CARE has long been the subject of controversy over its alleged ties to Hamas. In 2007, federal prosecutors named the organization as an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation terrorism financing case, the largest terrorism financing prosecution in U.S. history. Why am I reading this like I've said this 1,000 times? Because I've said this 1,000 times. That this group was bad news, that this group was dangerous, that this group was tied to terror. I could have written this article if I had done the investigation into CARE's finances of this guy's campaign. Insane. Absolutely insane. Federal prosecutors argue the organization was part of a network created to support Hamas in the U.S. In recent years, Florida and Texas have formally designated or labeled CARE a terrorist organization, while the United Arab Emirates designated the group a terrorist organization in 2014, which is widely understood to stem from the UAE's view that CARE has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. Let's remember all this. Let's remember, I have said this time and time and time again. I know how dangerous this group is. I have said it many times before. Al Sayed, when you campaign with a guy like Hassan Piker, who says America deserved 9/11, from a guy who says you should go out in the streets and kill landlords. Literally said that. A guy who, by the way, the University of Washington is bringing in to speak, this lunatic, this absolute lunatic. Remember some of the things this guy has said? Here, this is what he said when people suggested they play nice, because don't forget, al-Sayed only won by 1% of the votes among the Democrats to become the nominee. This is what Abu el-Sayed's campaign spokesman, Hassan Piker, the Twitcher, streamer, whatever it is, this is what he said.
Like everyone being like, Abdullah's a ton of work to do mending bridges. Here's the take nuke for you, okay? You are all unbelievably Islamophobic pieces of shit, okay?
Charming guy. Charming guy. That's not all he said.
Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
America deserved 9/11, dude. It. I'm saying it.
My favorite flag?
Yeah.
Hezbollah.
Favorite flag, Hezbollah. Sounds like a party guy. So Abdul el-Sayed, was campaigning with him a bad idea?
You know, there's one other guy that you've campaigned with that has raised eyebrows, Hassan Piker.
His eyebrows went up. Did you guys see that?
As I said, raised eyebrows. I raised my eyebrows. Was campaigning with him a good idea?
Look, I want to reach out to his viewers. He has a 3 million person platform, and there are things that Hassan and I disagree with, if you watched any of our content together, and there are things that he and I agree with on the question of whether or not we should be guaranteeing people health care or sending...
Oh, stop. Oh, stop. This isn't like going on Joe Rogan's podcast where you disagree about ivermectin or something like that. In this case, it's a guy who literally says America deserved 9/11 and says we should go out on the streets and kill landlords. That's who you're campaigning with. I know how dangerous this organization is. So I did something new to my voter's guide, by the way, my friends. So my voter's guide, it's not done yet. I am in the middle of updating it after the primary results, and we're going to have some of the primary results for you in the next segment because they're coming through right now. We'll make sure to analyze them and have that analysis for you in the next segment. But I am creating a not to vote for section or designation on my voter's guide. And what I did was I took anybody backed by CARE and anybody backed by the American Muslim Advancement Council, which is local, which is basically CARE in disguise, because they know that CARE is tarnished, the name. So they create this American Muslim Advancement Council, which is basically another arm of CARE. Now, a candidate may be endorsed by these organizations, and they have the ability to reject those endorsements. They can say, I don't want them. Not listing them on your website is not good enough for me. You need to say, hey, I didn't ask for them, I didn't seek them. But the problem here is, most of the times, you know what you have to do to get an endorsement from an organization? You have to fill out a form. You have to fill out a form seeking their endorsement. They don't just randomly go, we like this guy. No, you have to fill out a form. We found Sean Scott's form not that long ago that he filled out to get an endorsement from this organization. So we know that they do the forms here, which means the majority of the people on this list, if not all the people on this list, actually filled out the form. So here in Washington, CARE was trying to make sure that anti-Semitism wasn't being taught in schools, or excuse me, that anti-Semitism. So the definitions of anti-Semitism weren't being taught because they include Israel stuff. They demanded that a CARE representative be placed on state school safety advisory committees. These are the guys who pressured OSPI to reject the words globalize the intifada and from the river to the sea as hateful words. They said, no, we want to include them. We want to make sure they're there. The American Muslim Advancement Council, they say, these guys say that they are going to engage in co-governance consultation with their candidates. Co-governance. That's like the stuff Shama Sawant used to do, where she let the socialist alternative or whoever those guys were run her office. That's what we're talking about here. The elevation of aligned individuals into appointed and hired positions. So if somebody has their endorsement, they have filled out the forms, and they are in with these guys hook, line, and sinker. Unless something's changed, you have to fill out the forms to get their endorsement. So, for example, one of the Supreme Court justices who's running one of the Democrats' picks, Judge Sharonda Amamilo, she has received the endorsement of AMAC and was listed as a preferred candidate by CARE. That's one of the Supreme Court justices that the Democrats are backing. In the 32nd Legislative District, Cindy Rue, who's trying to take the seat away from Jesse Solomon. I don't like Jesse Solomon. I don't think he's a very good lawmaker. I think he always ducks and cowers and runs away when you actually need him there, but he claims he's working behind the scenes. But he's running against Cindy Rue, who received endorsements from CARE and AMAC from both of them. In the 1st Legislative District in the Washington State House, two candidates were both endorsed by these guys. They're rolling the dice as long as one of them gets through. That's who we are supporting. It's a lot of them. Imran Siddiqui. Imran Siddiqui is literally the director of CARE Washington. He is their director. And he is running in the 32nd Legislative District against Lauren Davis. Lauren Davis is a far left progressive, and she blew out Siddiqui in the primary. So Lauren Davis has come on the show before, and actually, was it The Stranger? I think it was The Stranger. The Stranger got mad because even though we disagree on everything, she dared to come on the show. How dare you talk to Ari Hoffman? We really are the most dangerous show on the airwaves. How dare you talk to Ari Hoffman? That's why they didn't endorse her. She's a person who agrees with every single one of their principles, every single one. But how dare you talk to the opposition? How dare you? So, Imran Siddiqui, literally the head of the local organization that led the school, that a lot of their volunteers led the school walkouts against Jews, against Israel. That guy. He's in this stuff up to his eyeballs, and he's in with Ferguson up to his eyeballs. I mean, you've got a bunch of these candidates spread throughout the general election. A bunch of them. Daria Farver. Shouldn't be surprised. She's the one who likes the Ayatollah. That one there. Osman Salahuddin. That's a real shocker right there why that guy got their nomination. Another far-left progressive. Here's another one for you in King County, District 2. Rebecca Saldana. Don't forget she endorsed Uba Gardir, a progressive activist candidate for King County Council who had previously threatened to blow up a school bus filled with children and who called those who fled cowards. Literally did it. After the video went viral, Saldana doubled down on her endorsement and hosted an event for Gardir. Hey, of course she's endorsed by CARE and AMAC. Of course she is, because she supports terror. This election is not just about Democrat versus Republican. It's not about that anymore. It's about common sense versus crazy. It's about, are you true to America or are you doing this for terror? That's what this election is about, even the Washington State Legislature, because there's at least a dozen candidates that are endorsed by these guys, and then most people haven't even heard of the organizations. This is how they infiltrate America, these terrorist organizations, to do bad things. And so many people are not paying attention at all. That's why you guys are smart and listening to the show over here. Up next, my friends, who are the candidates that are actually going to be squeaking through? We'll have the latest, most updated election results for you when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Another round of ballots has just dropped. And actually, I got to give it to the Republicans. The House Republicans have created their own website, which tracks things way better than the Secretary of State, way better than King County elections. And this thing updates and is real easy to use and very intuitive. If you're looking at this, go to wahouserepublicans.com/better, which is, for political nerds like me, this is really a great site. I mean, whoever's behind this thing, Travis Couture, Jim Walsh, Drew Stokesbury, whoever made this thing, really good job, guys, because it's phenomenal. So if you're looking for a better way to view election results, and they have everything. They have everything. wahouserepublicans.com/better. Infinitely easier to use. So you wonder, with all that money the Secretary of State's office is doing, how come they can have a better website? Okay, did anything drastic change? Well, let me give you the fun ones so far. Oh, Shama Sawant's going to be so mad. Oh, boy, is this great, like they say in Animal House. Okay, so here's the funny thing. Let's go back to Washington's 9th Congressional District. This is where Adam Smith has been the incumbent forever and is likely going to win the re-election. Doug Bassler's running as a Republican. We like Doug, but Doug got 22.8% of the vote. Okay? Not a lot of Republicans in that district. But here's the funny thing. Shama Sawant got 15.1% of the vote. She's running against this Looney Tune crazy Melissa Chowdhury. Melissa Chowdhury is the one who wears a hijab even though she's a white gal, married a Pakistani fraudster who was arrested by ICE for immigration issues. This is a guy who entered our country under false pretenses, lied on his application because he was convicted of trying to do bank fraud with somebody else's passport that he found in the back of his cab in Australia. He was convicted of that. So that's Melissa Chowdhury. Melissa Chowdhury got 12%. Shama Sawant got 15.1%. Do some quick math. That's 27.1%. That's more than Doug Bassler's 22.8%, which means no Melissa Chowdhury. Shama Sawant is going to be in second place. That means it would have been Adam Smith versus Shama Sawant. I think Adam Smith should send a fruit basket over to Melissa Chowdhury. I really think so, because Doug's great. His ads are fantastic. But by him being there, he kept Shama Sawant out. And by Melissa Chowdhury being there, she kept Shama Sawant out. Oh, this is great. So the Marxist former city council member in Seattle, Shama Sawant, isn't going for it. Now, you know what the problem with this is. She's going to go, I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time. All she has to do is wait 2 years to try this again. Doug, we need you to keep running, man. We need you to keep... Melissa, we will fund your campaign, you lunatic, just to keep Shama Sawant out. Can we find some other lunatics to run for office like Melissa Chowdhury? Can we do that? Can we find some other people out there? We'll just keep doing this. Oh boy, is this great. She's going to be so mad. She's going to be big mad. I'm not going to play any clips of her being big mad because, that voice, it's just nails on a chalkboard. Okay, looking around, I'm not seeing a lot of other changes in a lot of these races. This is what we're looking at. So Amanda McKinney, this is an important one. This is Washington's 4th Congressional District. Amanda McKinney was endorsed by President Trump. She was. Jared Sessler has run, 5 or 6 times for office. We used to have him on all the time. Jared Sessler claims he's endorsed by Trump because what it looks like he did was he just took his previous endorsements and put them on his new campaign website. So people got confused. And they thought, well, who's actually endorsed by Trump? The funniest thing to me is even though Amanda McKinney was endorsed by Trump for this election, because Trump likes winners and Jared Sessler has lost multiple times, is that the King County Republicans, who use MAGA as basically a test of how MAGA are you, didn't endorse the candidate endorsed by President Trump. See what I mean? You can never pass these purity tests. Amanda McKinney is in the lead. If she gets Sessler's votes, if she gets Matt Behnke's votes, then she is going to be in that district. And that's a solidly Republican district because Dan Newhouse held on to it for years. So that's an important one right there. I will say, though, if the Sessler and Behnke voters stay home, she's got a little bit of a tighter race on her hands. Michael Baumgartner, 47.2%. The Democrats nowhere near close, so he's probably going to go back to the 5th district. That's good stuff here. This one here, the 6th Congressional District, where you've got Emily Randall, You know, the lady who wants to ban all your gas fireplaces but wants to use her own, that Emily Randall, she has 60.8%. Teresa Fox has 24.6%. She's the Republican. Leon Lawson only has 9%. So even if Teresa Fox gets the Leon Lawson votes, which there's no clear thing she does, it looks like Emily Randall is going back in that race as well. Pramila Jayapal, 83.8%. I like Nirav Sheth. He's a good guy. He says all the right things, but he's run before. We need somebody else in there and somebody else who can appeal to maybe some more of the moderates in Pramila Jayapal's district. Otherwise, they're just going to vote for the Democrat. Kim Schreier, now this one's interesting. You have Spencer Malign, who we had on the show, and Trin Ha, who we had on the show, both competing for the Republican spot. Right now, the fight there is Spencer Malign has 15.5%. Trin Ha has 15.3%. Looks like they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There's also Bob Hageland, who's there with 11.2%. So if you add all that up, Spencer, Trin, and Bob, that's 15, that's 30, that's 41, call it 42%. You still have a lot of ground for either Trin Ha or Spencer Malign to beat Kim Schreier at 53%, assuming you're able to consolidate those Republicans right there. Let's go over to the House for a second. Here's a race we haven't been paying a lot of attention to, and this is State Representative Position 2 in the 3rd Legislative District. Why am I specifically calling out this one? Because Luke Jasmine III is running in this one. Luke Jasmine III was trailing Pam Kohlmeyer. Now, you might remember the name Luke Jasmine. His father is the one who was that commissioner on the Human Rights Commission and who went off on that anti-Semitic tirade and then admitted that they bash people who are minorities all the time in the Human Rights Commission. And then when he was interviewed about this, along with his father, he basically didn't have a problem with Hamas or other terrorist organizations. This is a guy who's been working for Inslee, then he was working for Ferguson, and then somehow slid his father into the Human Rights Council position. So now he's up 31.7% over Pam Kohlmeyer at 30.8%. He's showing a little bit of momentum because he had to come from behind. He was in a solid third on election night. Now, Natalie Paulson, who's the Republican, is in first place with 33.2%, but if you combine the Jasmine votes and the Pam Kohlmeyer votes, that person, that Democrat, is going to get elected. So in this case, while we want Natalie Paulson to win, we really want Pam over Luke Jasmine. We really don't want Luke Jasmine in that seat because it looks like the Democrat is going to win that seat, whoever it is, versus the Republican. And that's another bad pickup. And I think he's endorsed by some of the bad organizations. We'll do some looking into this. Up next, my friends, we're going to look into Jay Inslee's claims that climate change caused that big fire, which now there's an arsonist who's being arraigned for right now, and 25 other fires that he admitted to. Gee, was it climate change? Todd Myers joins us next, my friends. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Today's Newsmaker Spotlight brought to you by our friends over at Renewal by Anderson, Western Washington Windows and Doors for every home. Governor Jay Inslee, former governor, thank God, Jay Inslee, continues to double and triple down on the fact that these fires in Spokane were caused by climate change. Well, there is a man in custody for arson, on suspicion of arson, I should say. For these fires, his name is not climate change. But is there any truth to what the governor, former governor, is saying? Joining us now to discuss on the KVI studio line, Vice President of Research for the Washington Policy Center, the one and only Todd Myers. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Always nice to chat with you.
Always great to have you as well. And I don't think either one of us wants to talk about baseball right now. So let's talk about fires instead. So looking at the fires and what's going on, is there any truth to what our governor is saying? Former governor.
Well, there is only the thinnest sliver of truth, which is that temperatures have been going up, albeit more modestly than he claims, but nonetheless, they have been going up. And so therefore, warmer temperatures are, create circumstances where you're more likely to have fires. But the reality is that the impact of climate change compared to all the other things that contributed to this fire is very low. And so, him taking something that is an ancillary cause or, contributor at best and making it the number one thing that he talks about is not just sort of wrong. It is actually destructive and dangerous and irresponsible, because if we want to stop, I shouldn't say if, we do want to stop this in the future, not just in Spokane, but everywhere. And the way that you do that is to honestly say, what are the most important contributing factors that caused this, that created this circumstance? Focus on those. And if we fixate on climate change and we ignore all the other things that are more important and more likely to cause these, we're actually making it harder to prevent future problems. And it is worth noting that of all the people in the world to talk about climate change, Jay Inslee should be the last, because during his time in office, CO2 emissions increased in Washington state. So while he says, gee, we need to be addressing climate change to stop things like this, he had 12 years to do something, and his policies were so bad that he made the problem worse. And it's for the very reason that I just said, which is that he spent money on a lot of things that didn't work because he got distracted. We can't let, this sort of political rhetoric distract us from the real causes. So, like I said, it's not just that this is wrong. I think actually what he's doing here is dangerous.
I agree, and I think it's even more than that. I think it's fraud. I think it's fraudulent, because this is the guy who championed the Climate Commitment Act, which says it was going to mitigate the effects of climate change. And we're talking about wildfires and we're talking about floods, all things they said could happen. And if you're going to do that, shouldn't you build more water sources to store water? Shouldn't you build more dams? And yet we've had the floods since then. We've now had the fires since then. And it doesn't seem like they've done any infrastructure whatsoever. And as you guys well know, because you guys did the research, didn't over 90% of that money just go to nonprofits that didn't accomplish anything or even address climate change? So if it's such a big deal, as they're saying, they're taking our money and not even doing anything with it.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of waste, as we pointed out. More money in the first $1.5 billion was spent on bicycle education through the Cascade Bicycle Club than on reducing the impact of floods. I mean, that just shows you how unserious the approach has been. I looked at the $8 million that was supposed to promote clean air in disadvantaged communities. Of the 20 projects, only one actually improved air quality. The others went to groups like the Urban League and others who did, town meetings and, consultations, did nothing for clean air. So we've wasted huge amounts of money. And then when we get disasters like this, instead of saying, hey, we need to do a better job of how we spend money, what we get is just more hysteria.
Yeah, and I think looking at something like this through the facts is important, because, look, if you want to say, well, an arsonist started it, but the effects of climate change may have exacerbated it, then let's have that conversation. And if we're going to have that conversation, let's discuss why the things that could be done to mitigate those effects were not done. But that doesn't seem to be the conversation Jay Inslee wants to have. And I give Bob Ferguson a lot of credit. He could have hopped on this train, so could have Maria Cantwell and the rest of them. They were smart enough not to do it because they knew what was coming, because even days ago, the authorities were telling us human caused. And whether that means fireworks or arson or chains on a truck or anything else, Jay Inslee just seems to want to keep doubling, tripling down, claiming it's climate change, and yet this is the guy who's most responsible for things getting worse around here.
Yeah, now, human caused can mean a bunch of things. One of the things that I was wondering about, and people pointed to sort of wildland and forest management. This is much more urban, so I think the role of that is much smaller. But, most forest fires are human caused. But in the same way, he's blaming climate change. But if somebody leaves their campfire burning and it starts a forest fire and it goes through a forest that is unhealthy and fire prone, we would say, don't, leave your campfire. But we would also say, clean up the forest. The problem with this is that climate change is so far down on the list of contributing factors to this, it's not even worth mentioning. And the second thing is that let's say we did everything. Let's say we did everything right on climate change and all the good policies and, the best that we could do. Temperatures will still be higher in the year 2100 than they are today. Meaning it's not a solution. We could do everything right, and it still would not make the situation better, for a century. There are things we can do today that will prevent it. Focus on those, not sort of the distraction of climate change.
Yeah, I completely agree. In the last few minutes, we have with Todd Myers, who's Vice President of Research for the Washington Policy Center. Just looking at the numbers on this and the amount of devastation that's going to be caused, there are so many other factors at play here that for them to continue doing this is just irresponsible. You talk about forest management. We had somebody text our show yesterday who used to be a firefighter, so they claim, and was talking about who used to be a logger. And they said that they had their own firefighting airplanes that would look for fires. They had various mitigations that they did. None of that's being done now. But on top of that, the state isn't getting the money from those logging companies for going to education. So now you've got a budget problem because you're not doing this on top of the money you're going to have to pay to fix this whole thing. And now they're asking the federal government for help. Didn't they also cut some of the funding for this stuff a few years ago?
They did. And in fact, the legislature made a promise that over 3 biennia, they would spend, the number I think was about $500 million to fix unhealthy forests. And after the second, 2 years, they cut off the funding. So they broke their promise and they put the money elsewhere. So that's a problem. But there's another problem with the Department of Natural Resources not harvesting timber. And again, this is sustainable timber harvesting. We have some of the highest standards for logging in the world. And so the environmentalist claims about that this damages the environment is just nonsense. But the other thing that does is that it makes it so that we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the loggers. We don't have the truckers. We don't have the mills to do the work that needs to get done for the forest health. So if we want to go and clean up the forest, especially the federal forests, which are extremely fire prone, it's very difficult to do. It costs more because there aren't the people to do the work. There aren't the mills to mill, what is left of the logs. So it's not just that we don't have the money because we're not harvesting the trees. We don't even now have the capacity to do the work, even if we wanted to.
Insane. Absolutely insane. Todd Myers, Vice President of Research for the Washington Policy Center. Really appreciate you joining us today, sir.
Always nice to chat with you.
Always good to talk to you as well. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, head on over to KVI.com to become a KVI insider. That way you get all our emails, all our information, find out about all the upcoming events we have going on. That's where you want to be. Sign up over there. Plus, we don't sell your data. So that's good news also. Okay, switching gears over to Wisconsin. Have you seen this crazy socialist governor candidate, Francesca Hong? She's the one who kind of looks like a fish when you've seen her on TV. She's got this real bug eyes thing happening, which is very odd looking. Anywho, she is really a crazy liberal who cannot justify her positions. She's not a liberal. She's a leftist. She's a crazy leftist. She has spewed every unpopular opinion. And today, I think she may have finally convinced everybody she's nuts. Listen to what her latest idea is. I think this was an interview with one of the local affiliates there.
You have against Halloween?
I just don't. It's kind of. This is. I don't have anything against it. I just don't feel the need to have to participate, and it's fine for kids. This is not a I dislike. I'm not a super fun person.
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on. Okay. Oh, look at Kevin. Look how giddy he is over this. Look at that.
That's quite an admission.
That is quite an admission.
I'm not a super fun person. Okay, are you depressed?
Right.
What's going on here?
You sound kind of depressed. Also, here's this. I don't like Halloween. Okay? I really don't like Halloween.
Yeah, but you have your own fake Halloween that you
I know.
guys do.
I've got my own thing, which is nothing like it.
But also, you dress up, do you not?
Yeah. For you guys, I do the things around here. I do all the things. I do all that.
So you like
Halloween
here's the thing. Per se.
But for me, my friends enjoy it. My friends enjoy it. The neighborhood enjoys it. So we give out candy to kids and all that kind of stuff. Not my favorite holiday. My favorite non-Jewish holiday, Christmas. I love Christmas. I really, really do. I don't even celebrate it. I love that holiday, okay? But the Halloween thing, so a whole bunch of millions of kids across America just went, lady wants to get rid of our candy. Lady wants to take our candy. We're not voting for crazy lady. I don't think those kids can vote anyway, but there's going to be a riot of children at this woman's door.
I'm just still hung up on the fact that she just admitted, I'm just not a fun person.
Not a fun person. Yeah,
not a fun person.
When you're trying to get people to vote for you, you'd be like, you're Debbie Downer. Wop, wop. I'm not a fun person. No Halloween for you. That's just... Wait, Kevin, she's not done yet.
Okay. She won't be a super fun governor.
Okay, there's something.
Yeah, they're making fun of her on the TV outlet. Literally making, I guess I'm just not a fun person. Wants to cancel Halloween? Wow. Just wow. Dennis says, good afternoon, Ari. You keep forgetting Jay Inslee is not a smart person. I don't forget that ever. I never forget that. In fact, I think him and this Wisconsin woman, Francesca Hong, I think they share a brain, and there's not enough of it to go around, is my guess. Wow. Canceling Halloween. That's a way to, win hearts and influence people, right? That's a way to get votes. Just cancel Halloween. Yeah, she previously said she wanted to cancel Christmas also. So she basically just wants to get rid of all the holidays, all the fun. All the fun is gone. Just get rid of all of it. This is the new left, my friends. You know why they get rid of it? Because they just want you in love with the state. They just want the state holidays. And I don't mean like the American holidays. They want the state. Mao's birthday or whatever else, other crazy things they can come up with. This is what you're going to see a push for. They want to get rid of the religious holidays. They want to get rid of the religion. I know Halloween's pretty much secularized at this point, and people forget it even has anything to do with religion whatsoever. But this is what they want to do. Get rid of fun. That's what they want to do. They want to get rid of all the fun. Yeah, this is what we're looking at. And as I said, this is the best thing the Republicans got going for them in this election cycle. They're going head-to-head with the lady who wants to get rid of Halloween and Christmas. How do you think that's going to work out for you? Think that's going to win you a lot of votes in, checks notes, Wisconsin? Yeah, I don't think so. But notice how all these far-left activists are all targeting the Midwest. Definitely something to look into, my friends. Definitely. Up next, final hour free-for-all. Plus, the hearing just concluded with the firebug, who admitted to starting 25 fires, including the ones in Spokane. We'll have the latest details for you when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call or a text on the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, we have some amazing gentlemen who are doing a great thing to help out people with the fires. I guarantee you it's a story you haven't heard before. But speaking of those fires in Spokane, we got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
The hearing is now over for the suspect who is being held for allegedly lighting all those fires in Spokane. Aaron Farinacci, age 37, is now being held on $2 million bond. According to Como News, during his arraignment on Thursday, a Spokane County judge went over release conditions. He's not going anywhere. Nobody's bailing him out. Upping his bond to $2 million and accepting a competency evaluation request from Farinacci's attorney. So basically they're saying, hey, you know this dude who's crazy, who killed his father? We don't think he's mentally healthy to stand trial, so we got to find out if he's mentally healthy. But the judge doesn't want him getting out of jail in the meantime because you only need like 10% to get out of jail. So you up it to $2 million. Somebody's got to fork over a lot of money to get this dude out of jail. And given the fact that he blew away his father, I don't really know who's going to come to his defense. Not even what was those guys, the Northwest Bail Fund or whatever they are, the liberals that let everybody go? No, they're not going to let this guy out. You know why? Killed a bunch of trees. Don't care about them people. He burned down a lot of trees. They're not going to let him out. But in the court documents that were released before the hearing, we found out a lot more about this guy. Aaron Farinacci, the convicted murderer accused of intentionally starting the Old Trails fire in Spokane, Washington, admitted to starting 25 other fires since last July, including the Aubrey White fire on July 6th and the other fire on July 8th. I think that's in Menach? Is that where that's for? The Menach fire on July 8th. Detectives had corroborated evidence indicating that he started at least 4 of the 25 fires he described. So wait a second. This guy admits to starting 25 fires, and 4 of them they can already prove. I think it's a safe bet that they're going to be able to corroborate the fact that he started the other ones. Farinacci told a Spokane County Sheriff's detective, according to court documents, that he spent 2 weeks planning the fire he started Saturday, and that he chose the day because it was especially windy, hot, and dry. He also said he picked the grassy, tree-lined area near Old Trails Road because he knew the fire was going to get bad, but claimed he didn't intend for it to grow as large as it did. Sir, what was your intent? You wanted to start a barbecue or something? Or you just wanted a little bit of fire? Why did you pick the big, grassy, dry area then? The detective reported that the man told him he feels fire is powerful and beautiful, and that arson is an easy crime to get away with. He allegedly said he always carries marijuana or cigarettes to use as an arson alibi in case he is caught with a lighter or matches near one of his fires. If this guy admitted all this to the cops, then of course they need a competency hearing. Why? Because you were read your rights when you were arrested and you're literally telling them everything. Look, this dude ain't saying, and we know why for many other reasons. The 4 other fires detectives found evidence the man had allegedly started included the July 6, 2025 blaze at Riverside State Park that burned more than 1,200 acres and prompted evacuation orders. Farinacci also confessed to setting another fire 2 days later in West Spokane that forced residents of nearby homes and apartment complexes, including his own apartment complex, to evacuate. Prosecutors on Wednesday requested to charge the man with 4 more counts of first-degree arson, and may seek additional charges once the full extent of his actions is known. Now, this guy has some screws loose, and we've known it for a while. In 2010, apparently he killed his own father, confessed to killing his own father after a dispute over doing the dishes in his house, then tried to kill his mother, then tried to kill himself. That's in 2010. He was released 10 years later and somehow managed to be up here 2 years ago. So at some point in the last 6 years, he decided to come to Spokane, Washington. Now, we have a source we have not confirmed yet. In fact, we have two sources we haven't confirmed yet. That this guy may have been a resident of Homeless Inc. or may have been receiving services from Homeless Inc. If that's actually the case, yet another example of a bad person coming to Washington because they can do whatever they want here. They know it's a permissive environment. They know you're going to get released time and time again, even if you're caught doing a crime, where, don't forget, police have interviewed this guy twice last year about various fires, and he was still released. You can't fix everybody. You can't rehabilitate everybody. Some people are just bad seeds. How did he only get 10 years in a plea deal for killing his own father? And who decided to release him? Now, if he was released in 2020, was he released during that time when all these liberal politicians were releasing prisoners because COVID bad? And, you know, in that cell where you're more than 6 feet away from the person next to you, we really got to get you out of that jail. Really got to do it. It was just an excuse to try and abolish prisons by releasing people. You remember Jay Inslee wanted to release the Green River Killer? Oh, speaking of Emperor Inslee, by the way, he's still claiming it's climate change. So even though this guy has confessed to starting at least 25 fires in our area, Jay Inslee is doubling and tripling down, claiming it's climate change. Here's what he said on Monday.
It's a beautiful morning here in Lopez Island, but I'm so concerned. Talked to my friend, a legislator in Spokane, whose home he had to evacuate because of these massive fires in Spokane County. The whole state's under threat now. Climate change. You know, climate change isn't some existential global thing. It's our neighbors. It's our friends. We had to fight for them.
Yeah, it wasn't climate change, Jay. It wasn't climate change. It was a fire bug. It was a convicted murderer. That's who it was, Jay. And his name ain't climate change. Not at all. But Jay Inslee's doubling down, quadrupling down on this claim that it's climate change. So after he got ratioed up the wazoo, after national media is talking about how it wasn't climate change, Jay Inslee has to kind of surgically remove his foot from his mouth. So what does he do? He does another post. He does this whole tweet thread. I think it's time to bring back the Inslee impression for this one. When you hear suspected arson, it's easy to think that wildfire has nothing to do with climate change. While severe drought, low snowpack, and heat didn't ignite this fire. Wait, stop. You're saying it wasn't caused by climate change. You just said it didn't ignite this fire. Jay didn't start the fire. Neither did climate change. They are why it's so big, destructive, and fast. No, Jay. They're so big, destructive, and fast because you don't let people do what they got to do to clear the forests. Because you declared war on the timber industry, and now you don't even have that industry anymore. Because you don't have that industry, if you decide to get rid of all those restrictions tomorrow, a whole industry has to rev up for business again, and that will take years. These are guys who used to have their own planes to go look for forest fires, to protect their crops, to protect their stock. So many invasive species have invaded it. There's tons of dead trees in there. You guys don't do prescribed burns, you don't do forest clearing, and you don't get the money for education from the loggers at all anymore. But Jay Inslee is so desperate to prove his point. He puts up this article, which says, why are the Washington wildfires so severe? Spokane fires explained. And what it says here, and I was interested why it doesn't say the outlet up top. We'll get to that in a second. It says, while climate change does not directly ignite wildfires, it makes them more likely to spread rapidly and become more destructive once they start. Interesting. I wonder where you got this from. Normally you put like Seattle Times or Como News when you're making a graphic like Jay Inslee did for social media, where he took the article and put it over an image of a forest fire. Yeah, where's the headline of which outlet this came from? Little tiny letters at the bottom from Al Jazeera. So Jay Inslee is now using the anti-American terrorist mouthpiece. Al Jazeera as his source? That's who you got, Jay. No other media outlet is dumb enough to say this was climate change except for Al Jazeera. Weren't they the ones that bought Al Gore's climate change TV network? So this is the Al Gore branch of Al Jazeera, which Jay Inslee is posting about right here. Brilliant, brilliant. In fact, he got ratioed so badly that even Bob Ferguson is admitting it wasn't climate change. He was on CNN earlier today.
If I was someone who lost everything, my home and everything, to think that this happened intentionally by an individual, that it wasn't because of a lightning strike or, caused by nature in some way, I just have to believe it adds to the absolute anguish that so many Washingtonians are experiencing. And just to be clear, just so your viewers are aware, these are neighborhoods right in the city of Spokane. And these are entire neighborhoods where, to look at the images, and you have images on CNN, by the way, it looks like a bomb went off. It's been described by many as looking like a war zone. And that is the only way to describe it. So these are just neighborhoods right in the city, totally wiped out in a space of just a few hours. So it's a very dire situation for many, many individuals.
Very dire, and also not climate change. How dire is the situation? Fox 13 has some updates for us right now. The Autumn Lane fire has burned 5,878 acres in the Indian Trail area northeast of Airway Heights. It's now 13% contained. The Old Trails fire, the one this guy allegedly started, has burned 3,576 acres in the 9 Mile Falls area of northwestern Spokane. It's now 13% contained. The Fairview fire, burning about 992 acres in the Meade area of northeast Spokane. It's now 13% contained. And there are now 2 new wildfires forcing evacuations in West Spokane County that officials have named the Charles Fire and the Sparrow Fire, both reportedly under 5 acres in size with unknown containment. So this is what we're dealing with right now. And a lot of people from Spokane have reached out. Some people who are firefighters, some people who are first responders, some people are just residents of Spokane. And they say that they see these homeless people lighting fires all the time. Now, we have not confirmed if this guy Farinacci was a customer/client of Homeless Inc. We have not. But that is what I'm hearing. I'm going to spend tonight actually verifying these sources and see if we have it, because I think we actually do. I think we do, exactly. Forrest Cat says the waterproof matches gave him away. They burn longer, have a much bigger flame than regular matches. You wouldn't use waterproof matches to light a cigarette. Yeah, well, here's the thing, Forrest. We have some people who, let's put it this way, this guy's not right in the head. he's really, really not. TJ says, this guy may have a screw loose, but who do you think you're kidding? This guy knew exactly what he was doing. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. This is, I got to say right here, this is the kind of stuff we all know this guy has multiple screws loose. That's what we have going on here. And this is a guy who, mental competency hearing, what are they going to find? Well, he killed his father. So a normal person doesn't really kill their father over doing the dishes. So of course, they're going to find this guy isn't mentally competent to stand trial and then put him in what? Some kind of mental health facility and then release him in a few years and then nobody will notice, because that's what happened last time. That's exactly what happened last time. This was a guy who had mental issues. He pled to manslaughter because they offered him that in exchange for the murder stuff. Pled to manslaughter, and nobody even knew he got out. The story about him killing his father over the dishes went viral at the time in 2010. The story was everywhere. Who actually covered him getting released? Nobody. I went looking through the news media. Nobody covered that at the time. Absolutely nobody. So then this guy's out, and one Google search told us this guy's history. One search. If we find out that this is a combination of bad forest management and Homeless Inc., and how many other things, and this guy was released multiple times, so our revolving door justice system. It's basically all the hit list of the Democrats. That's basically what this thing is. Every single hit list for the Democrats of their bad, failed policy. That's what this is across the board. Just look at it. That's what it is. Every single thing, revolving door justice system, the climate change nonsense, which has stopped them from clearing forests, the homeless Inc. aspect of this, if it's confirmed. Every single thing the Democrats these are their head issues. These are their peak issues. These are their top issues. Every single one of them, look what happens here. Now, in good news side of things, Sydney Sweeney was spotted out in Spokane, helping out with the fires. That's right. I post 3 hours of content a day. I post all this news. I post all this stuff. What's my highest performing tweet of the day? The video of Sydney Sweeney. Well, I guess she's better looking than I am. Would you rather look at Sydney Sweeney or look at me? So I think that's an obvious one. But yeah, highest performing post of the day is her helping out with some of these food kitchens that are helping the residents of Spokane. And some people go, what's she doing out there? And I said, you know what? Leave her alone. Leave her alone. She's from Spokane, Washington. And number two, she didn't do a big press announcement. I haven't seen anything. I went to check her social media. Is she posting about being out in Spokane? No, she's not. So somebody caught her on camera, helping out her hometown, helping out her neighborhood. I got no problem with that. Tell you what, we're going to let you guys decide in this case. We're going to let you guys decide. Do you think that it's bad form for Sydney Sweeney to be out there? I don't. I personally don't. Becky over at Enumclaw says he was sentenced to 12 years. She's speaking about the firebug. Released after serving only 8 years. Becky, I'm not sure about that. I have to double check because the last court documents I saw, it was just short of 10 years. Either way, he should have been in there longer and not released. But looks like another Democrat released him. This one here from the 360. Jay Inslee needs an operation on his tongue. He is literally tongue-tied. No, I think he uses it too much. I think that's the problem. He gets himself in trouble because he uses too much of it and says such dumb things. Unbelievable. Is he going to come out with another post today? I'll have to check during the commercial break. See if he blames it on climate change yet again. Up next, Katie Wilson. She's big on the climate change stuff. She's got a lot of problems locally. And she's really excited about these fires. You know why? Because it's distracting from the fact that she's incompetent and she's hoping people forget about it. Not sure the Seattle City Council is going to. We'll give you all details on what's happening when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, everybody, that from 6 to 7 p.m. is the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded, sponsored by our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns and Bellevue Indoor Range, Puget Sound's premier destination for everything firearms. It's content you may have missed today if you're just tuning into the show now. We'll have a lot of fresh content from today. It's all from today, so there we go. This one here, this from Steve in Port Orchard. Sydney Sweeney is likely to start more fires than she puts out. Oh, very good. Very good. Very chauvinist, but very, very good. Crazy stuff. Forrest is speculating. He wonders if there's going to be copycats. Actually, there usually are with firebugs. That's a big concern. And the fact that they're talking about 2 new forest fires today that started, 2 new fires in Spokane that started today, yeah, I'd be concerned about that too. I'd be very, very concerned about that, too. Oh, this one's mean. Funny, but mean. We'll read it. From the 253. Do you think Katie Wilson could mount a solar panel on her forehead and help out Seattle City light rates? It's the least she could do for about 1,000 customers. Okay. 253, that is mean. I am not laughing at all at your joke. Not laughing at all. Because don't you know, it is rainy 8 months out of the year here. That's not going to work no matter how big her forehead is. Oh, okay. Sorry. Somebody's asking me where the picture of Sydney Sweeney is. No, we're not doing this, guys. We're not doing that. Look, other people out there, other celebrities, they're all spouting off about whatever nonsense they have. She actually showed up, and I didn't see her posting anything to her social media, so I think she just wants to help out the hometown. Speaking of our hometown out here in Seattle, Washington, my friends. Okay, this one here. Tell me, we're going to play a little game. All right, Seattle police, according to Como News, are investigating after firefighters found a body while responding to a brush fire Wednesday evening along the Mountains to Sound Trail. Do you think it was an unsheltered neighbor / taxpayer-funded vagrant? Do you think it was that? Do you think it was a drug addict? Do you think it was some kind of felon? Or do you think it was all of the above? Text us at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. According to the Seattle Police Department, Seattle Fire Department crews rushed to a brush fire near the South Holgate Bridge around 6:26 p.m. The South Holgate Bridge, you say, huh? Yeah, there's a methadone clinic over there, and there's homeless encampments over there. Yeah, I know exactly where that is. Where do you think it was? You know, Jonathan Cho and Andrea Suarez have been posting about the fact that they're finally clearing out that park we went to before the World Cup, where it was so dangerous they were throwing things at us before we went in there for the World Cup, right before the World Cup. They were throwing stuff at us. So they're finally clearing out that park. Where the drug addicts go? Across the street. They just went across the street. They're just going to go somewhere else. Because around here, we don't actually deal with our problems. Thanks, Katie Wilson. Just shoved all them homeless people into other corners of Seattle for the World Cup. Police said they could not determine if the person's gender at the scene. Oh, they were burned that crispy? Wow. So if you're burned that crispy, usually, if you're on fire, God forbid, you're probably rolling around trying to put it out, unless you're a dead body that's already there, or unless you're passed out from drug use. Which one do you likely think it was, guys? Investigators also could not say how long the body had been there or whether the burns made the victim unidentifiable, noting that King County Medical Examiner's Office had not yet arrived. Seattle Police Department dispatched homicide detectives because we have had that issue before where people who are passed out from drugs get lit on fire by other unsheltered neighbors. Police said the circumstances were suspicious enough to warrant a homicide investigation. Though the cause and manner of the person's death have not been determined, it was not immediately clear whether the brush fires were connected to the death. You want to put guesses out here, whether they were or not? Okay, let's go through the different scenarios. Homeless person lights other homeless person on fire. We've seen that happen before. Homeless drug addict lights themselves on fire because they pass out and whatever's burning is still burning. There's that. Or a person who's sleeping or a person who's passed out or a person who's dead gets caught in a brush fire because a homeless person did something bad or because somebody threw a cigarette out of a car or any other number of reasons. Those are the most likely scenarios, right? Nobody's surprised by any of this. This is the kind of stuff that happens all the time. Hey, you remember just a few weeks ago, Seattle Police Department was bragging about how there were no homicides? What was that, June or something? Seems like such a far ways away, June, now that all this is going on. In fact, here's something else. This one, do you think drug dealers or you think homeless or you think it's homeless drug dealers? Seattle police arrested 5 people from a vacant building in the University District this week, where investigators say the occupants had restored electricity and installed a surveillance system. Oh, to feel like tough drug lords? Is that what's going on here? Officers were dispatched around 1:50 p.m. Monday, the 4400 block of 8th Avenue Northeast, after the building's owners reported people were living inside. The owners recently discovered the trespassers despite the property being vacant for years. Police said the occupants had restored power to the building and installed surveillance cameras. Officers contacted 14 people inside the building and arrested 5 of them on outstanding felony and misdemeanor warrants from multiple jurisdictions. Police booked a 42-year-old woman, a 39-year-old woman, 2 32-year-old men in a King County jail on their warrants for trespassing. A 36-year-old man was arrested on felony warrant and booked into Snohomish County Jail. During the investigation, officers recovered 4 rifles. Wait a minute. They have outstanding warrants. How did they get the guns? Bob Ferguson's laws aren't working? Jay Inslee's laws aren't working? Nick Brown's laws aren't working about guns? How did the convicted felons, or how did the people with the felony warrants for their arrest get the guns? They also had several magazines. I assume they don't mean Vogue. I assume they mean the ones that go with the guns. Ammunition, drugs, and cash from inside the buildings. So this sounds more like drug dealers than our unsheltered neighbors. But what if there are unsheltered neighbors who are drug dealers? They also found 3 stolen electric bikes in the backyard. I bet you that's what they were probably most mad about. The stolen Lime bikes. That's what it is. Seattle Animal Control removed 8 dogs from the property, 4 adult dogs and 4 puppies, and took them to Seattle Animal Shelter for care. Wow. Seattle Police Department's narcotics unit is leading the follow-up investigation. I don't understand. How could something like this happen at all? We don't have a drug problem on our streets. We have a homeless problem, right? It's not a drug issue at all. It's a homeless issue. Oh, spare me that nonsense. Just spare me that nonsense. We always know what it is. It's always coming back to the exact same things, time after time after time after time. Warren wants to know if people are complaining about Sydney Sweeney volunteering to help. Yes, they are. It seems like jealous people are complaining. That's what I think is going on there, Warren. That's what's happening. But, I mean, this stuff is always the same. Always, always, always the same. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Susan in Kirkland. Susan, what's going on?
Hi. I am part of King County Republican Party, so to speak. I'm not part of the inner workings, but I'm just a PCO here, but somewhat of a dissident. When you made the statement yesterday that King County Republican, the bosses over there, they had not endorsed a Trump endorsee, and we're dying to know who it was.
Oh, okay. Hang on one second. Hang on one second. I'm going to pull this one up for you. Amanda McKinney.
Yeah.
It was Amanda McKinney. She's endorsed by Trump. And instead they endorsed Jared Sessler.
Who was it?
Amanda McKinney. Amanda McKinney.
Okay, good. All right, good. That'll make for great conversation at our meeting tonight.
Well, hang on. I got a better one for you. Okay, here's the better one to ask. Okay. Ask why. Okay, I'm giving you all the ammo for tonight, and you can say it was me. And if they want to come on the show and respond, they can. But here's the other one. How come they didn't come out against all the taxes, all the levies? So, for example, the library levy. It wasn't going to libraries. It was for Homeless Inc. Nobody wrote a statement for the voter's guide, and it wasn't anywhere on the website. It said no recommendation. It said no recommendation on the King County website.
Wow.
Exactly. In fact, hang on. While I have you on the phone, hang on. I'm going to pull this up right here, okay? And I'm going to read off the website unless they've updated it since yesterday, because I went pretty hard on them yesterday. Hang on one second here. Let's just pull this up.
We loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, we loved it.
This is great, Susan. This is great content, okay? You're a PCO, and you want to hold these guys accountable, and my computer's taking too long right now to look. Okay, King County Republican Party. Check out our King County Voters Guide, okay? Here we go. All righty. City of Black Diamond, position number 1, no recommendation. City of Covington, proposition number 1, no recommendation. City of Seattle, proposition number 1, no recommendation. Does that sound like they're actually doing their jobs there?
No. But what shocked me, I think what got people's attention was who was the Trump person that they didn't endorse? And you said it's Amanda McKinney, and they went for a Sessler instead.
Yes, that is the last time I looked at the website. That's what I saw on there.
Okay, but you were frustrated because they didn't do the obvious stuff like go against the library and do these other things.
Right, because they're taxes, and I thought us Republicans are against taxes.
We totally are. All right.
So hang on, I'm just going to look around here. I'm just going to look one more time. Right here. Hang on. I want to make sure I didn't misspeak or anything like that. I'm looking. Yeah, Jared Sessler, right here, endorsed for Washington's 4th Congressional District, King County endorsed, and I don't see Amanda McKinney anywhere. So Jared Sessler was endorsed 2 times ago when he ran as a Trump appointee, but not, as a Trump nominee candidate or whatever it was, but he wasn't, not this time, and he's up there and not Amanda McKinney.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was worried it might be they were drafting Semi Bird because King County Republicans.
No, not Semi Bird.
I know, but they're a bunch of birdies, and it's crazy. It's like it's over.
Yeah. Well, here's another question for you: how much ballot harvesting was going on for King County Republicans?
How much ballot harvesting? I'm writing.
Okay, that's another question to ask, meaning we can be as MAGA as we want to be, but if nobody's doing ballot harvesting, we ain't ever going to win any elections. Okay, Susan?
Thank you so much. Bye-bye
no problem. All right, take care, Susan. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. See, I got no problem calling out my own party. I really don't. Kevin, how many angry emails am I going to get tomorrow? How many angry emails am I going to get tomorrow about this? Oh, you don't understand or whatever, right? Yes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, we know what's going to happen. I know this. A PCO calls me and wants to know all this. It's right here. It's on the website. I'm looking at the website right here. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, a heartwarming story about some people who are helping out with the fires in a way you may not expect. Probably haven't heard this one yet. This is a great story. You're going to love it. We'll have that for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We don't always like to do the doom and gloom around here, my friends. That's why I'm so thankful to our friends over at Renewal by Andersen, Western Washington, windows and doors for every home, for sponsoring today's Newsmaker Spotlight, so we can spotlight some amazing people who are doing amazing things in the face of tragedy with regard to what's happening out in Spokane with the fires. Joining me now on the KVI studio line from JK Boots is Tim Kodsey. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, guys.
So why don't we start with this? You guys have a boots company. How are you guys involved in this?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're involved in this because, we build boots. We build boots here in Spokane, Washington, and a core customer of ours for the last 20 years has actually been wildland firefighters, the guys that go out there and fight this stuff, wage this war against wildfires. And so when the fight came to home, it was just really a natural connection. We knew that, our factories here in Spokane, my brother, my dad, myself, the three owners, I was born here in Spokane. We've lived here our whole lives. It just was the natural thing to do. So we jumped in and we started giving boots out to the guys who were doing this work.
That's really, really nice. How many would you say you've given out so far?
We originally committed to 50 pairs. I know we've exceeded that. We've got to be somewhere, it's somewhere between 50 and 100 pairs. I don't know the exact number.
That's amazing.
We've still got sex submissions coming in, but yeah, we're still going.
Now, is this the kind of thing you're helping the first responders, whoever's coming in to help with that? Is this something where you guys are looking to help the families that may have lost everything? What are you looking to do here?
Yeah, so when this fire started on Saturday and this last weekend, we called each other up and we knew we had to do something to give back and just help. We just wanted to help. So the whole campaign that we're doing is called the Homefront campaign, and there's three things that we're doing. The first one is the donating boots to the firefighters that are on the ground. The second thing we did is it was yesterday we ran our Homefront Day. So for the entire day, all the profits of all the sales from every channel, all our stores online, it's all going to the Spokane residents who lost their homes in the fire. So we're gathering up that amount. We're going to write a check to a great fund here locally that's taking care of that. And then we also opened up our HQ as a recharge station for the guys doing the firefighting. All the firefighters, they can come in, get drinks, relax, rest. And we've also had a booth in the base camp where we're giving the boots away, meeting the needs there, and we also just got a bunch of drinks and stuff there too. So it's kind of a couple of prongs of approach, but we're taking care of the firefighters, the guys that show up for us all the time, and we're showing up for them, and then we're also donating to the residents who lost their homes.
That's really incredible. We're talking with Tim Kodsey from JK Boots out in Spokane, Washington. They're doing everything they can to help out with the efforts out there. Now, for those of us who are on the other side of the state, who are just seeing the pictures, just seeing the videos, what's not coming through, what's not coming across that you're seeing?
Great question. I would say that it is the level of devastation for all of the displaced individuals, all the families, and then also the amount of destruction of the homes. This is gonna take years to rebuild, to work through. Many will not rebuild. They can't. They just can't do it. So, imagine your life completely uprooted and turned upside down in an hour is essentially what happened. And so I think that's the shell shock part that is hard to fathom and even really wrap your mind around. It's something that you have to see. And then when you see it, you are almost, it's kind of a freezing moment. So there's a lot of tragedy. We're doing everything we can. What's amazing is that the community here in Spokane is incredible. There's an unbelievable amount of support, and the resources, the DNR, the Forest Service, the firefighters are heroes, and they're doing incredible work. So we have help, thankfully, and the nation's responding. There's donations coming in. It's amazing. So we don't feel alone here at all.
Tim, give us your website so if people want to support your company or support your efforts, they can do so.
Sure. Yeah, our website is just jkboots.com, the name of our company, jkboots.com. We're actually we were really overwhelmed with people asking us if they could buy boots for firefighters, like sponsor a firefighter. So we open that up for sponsorships. You can go on our website and you can sponsor a firefighter and even write them a personalized note. And we're delivering those boots and notes to the guys at camp. So if you want to do that, you can do that. Just go to our website.
I'll tell you something else is do me a favor and send me over, Sarah's got my contact information, but send me over some pictures and some videos of what you guys have taken out there. We'll get it out to the world and share your link so people can help out, okay?
Beautiful. We'll do it.
All right. That's Tim Kodsey from JK Boots. God bless you, sir. Thank you for all you're doing. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. You're welcome, guys.
We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. For sure, I'm getting an angry phone call from the King County Republicans later. Just watch. Well, I didn't do anything wrong. All I did was read off their website. You want to be mad at me? Be mad at me. Fine, okay? That's
fine. People point out when we screw up all the time or when we make a bad decision or whatever, or our website said this and you said that. We get it all the time.
Yes. In fact, I'm not beating up on them for that other bad mistake they made, which they retracted. I got a whole new list of mistakes for them. Who's running the show over there, man? Oh, speaking of corrections, I have to make a correction on the show. Jay Inslee is not a one-trick pony. He's a two-trick pony. Now, instead of blaming climate change, he's got a new post out. He's blaming Trump. I forgot. There's only two things Jay Inslee posts about. Climate change and Donald Trump. Trump and Donald Trump. That's all he does. So, yeah, more on this tomorrow. Jay Inslee's now Pivoting over to Donald Trump after getting ratioed for claiming the fires were caused because of climate change. Nope. Now it's Trump's fault. Everything is Trump. Oh, Jay Inslee, the gift that keeps on giving. Trump. Okay. I don't know if Jay Inslee has grandkids. I really don't know. I haven't had the chance to talk to Trudy. Maybe I should ask Zach. Zach has met Trudy. He has spoken to Trudy. He said she's lovely. Says Trudy's lovely. But anywho, I don't know if Jay Inslee has grandkids. Trump, however, has grandkids. And let me tell you something. With kids, you can't fake it. You cannot fake the dad, the fun dad energy or whatever it is. You can't fake it with the grandkids. Trump has grandfather instincts. He really, really does. So yesterday, during one of his rallies, he has a family up on stage. And this couple has these two adorable little boys. One of them they're carrying around, and the other one they probably should have been carrying around because he got kind of curious and ran towards the edge of the stage, and then President Trump goes running after him to stop him from running off the stage. You can't fake this. He just goes. The surprise you're going to hear from the crowd is when Trump takes off to go catch the kid at 80 years old.
Thank you. It's truly an honor. It's truly an honor to stand here before you and speak. Sorry, excuse me. I have a little mom brain going on right now. I'm so sorry. No, he's going to take off. Thank you. Thank you. Truly, thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, so what happens is she's speaking on stage, right? And this is all happening behind her where the little kid standing at her side bolts for the edge of the stage. Trump, who's standing behind her, goes running after the kid. And what's he yelling in the background there? You can barely hear. I didn't want him to pull a Biden. Love him or hate him, that man is funny. That man is very, very funny. And the woman, God bless her, clearly nervous, got the kids, dad's holding one kid up there. I have two boys. I understand. Believe me, I do. I remember when they were that age. But mom has clearly taught her child well because the little boy who ran towards the edge of the stage now thanks the president not for stopping him from running off the stage, but for something else.
We're gifted the very generous contribution, the $1,000, and able to start the same for my son. And he did want to say a little something to you, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Go ahead, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you for my Trump account.
So if you couldn't understand that, mom taught him to say thank you for the Trump accounts. It's cute. It's adorable. Wholesome content is wholesome. If Joe Biden was like that with his grandkids rather than showering, whatever he was doing with his grandkids, then we'd talk about that as well. Meanwhile, here, according to Fox News, an Arizona donut shop was saved by its community after the owner revealed hardships that would have otherwise ended the business. Daniel Tess opened the local Donut 10 years ago in Scottsdale, Arizona. While a decade-long tenure is often the sign of a job well done, this summer proved hard for the shop. He said a lot of small businesses deal with it, but this year was different. We felt the pressure up after spring training to get things ready for the summer, and we just couldn't catch up. Last week was probably our worst. We just couldn't make payroll. With the staff's livelihood on the line, Tess humbled himself and turned to social media, asking for help from the community and help from God. The next day, the place was packed with visitors. His plea for help had worked. It not only drew in customers, but other local shops also prepaid for customers in a pay-it-forward gesture that displayed solidarity with their fellow small business owner. Said there's a lot of selfless people out there, a lot of generous people. He isn't the only one grateful for the business. Repeat customers told Fox 10 they were relieved the shop wasn't on the outs due to a spell of bad luck. They've got a lot of great options, super friendly people, so it's a great time to come in here really quick for a donut. Tess said he's ready to keep serving donuts and the community for years to come. He said people are there to help out. I definitely want to pay it forward as well, too. I'll remind everybody, just something as a former business owner, is that remember during COVID when all these businesses were shut down, there was a sign I saw back then that really resonated with me. It said, remember all those businesses that you asked to sponsor your kid's soccer team? They're asking for help. Right? That's what was going on at the time, guys. So when businesses ask for help, they're the ones who sponsor the baseball teams, and they're the ones who help you guys out and put in yearbook ads and things like that. When they ask for help, give them a little help. Meanwhile, the story of the lifeguard, the 16-year-old lifeguard who saved the 10-year-old boy, now we're hearing the 10-year-old boy's perspective. He told Fox News Digital, his name is Nathaniel Ray, said he lost consciousness and stopped breathing. as 16-year-old California State lifeguard Ryder Williams pulled him from the raging surf in a dramatic rescue captured on viral video. After being brought back to shore, Nathaniel began coughing up sand. Said 2 more seconds in the water, he would have been thrown another 15 to 20 feet out, said Nathaniel's father. At that point, he'd be so far out you can't see him, let alone rescue or retrieve him. It was a near-death scenario. Summit said he is now Ryder's biggest fan, adding that both families were contacted by the White House about honoring the teenager. He said he would fully support any recognition for Ryder, whom he now considers part of their extended family. According to the Rye family, the terrifying ordeal unfolded during what was supposed to be a relaxing beach vacation from Dallas with Nathaniel, his mother Anna, and his 8-year-old sister. Nathaniel said he was in the shallow end, had no intention of going deeper when a massive wave suddenly crashed over him. Started screaming for help. I think I saw the lifeguard, then passed out. Summit said Ryder then swooped in with extreme determination, maintaining a firm grip on Nathaniel throughout the rescue, knowing that even a momentary loss of control could have sent the boy farther out into the dangerous surf. He was limp and unconscious in the water at the time when Ryder was holding him, which is really difficult to do because he's carrying about 100 pounds of essentially dead weight through that current and through the water forces. By the time Nathaniel was brought back to the beach, he had regained consciousness and was breathing again, but he was coughing up sand that has entered his lungs because don't forget they get churned up with the surf. Emergency personnel evaluated him, warned the family about secondary drowning, potentially life-threatening complications that can develop hours after a drowning event. Someone says he was in Dallas when he learned what happened, but the viral video of the rescue added another layer of shock to the frightening ordeal. I as a dad, I wouldn't want to watch that. Even if the kid's okay, God, that's horrifying. I wouldn't even want to watch that. He said it was terrifying. When you look at it, you see him submerged under the water. You look at the water conditions, the rip tides, the rip currents, the undertows, the 10-foot waves. Those are deadly water conditions. Father said he remains deeply grateful for Ryder's courage and determination, adding that he has become the teenager's biggest supporter, especially after President Donald Trump publicly suggested honoring him for his heroic efforts. Said, I'm a fan of every single medal, award, honor, or recognition he can get. I'm 1 billion% behind it. I am by far his biggest fan. So I'd love to be there and advocate for him and support him. After Nathaniel returned to Texas, the two families have reportedly developed a close bond, with Summit saying Ryder and his family now feel like an extension of his own. Summit reportedly connected with Ryder's father, Shane, for a lengthy phone call, and the two have remained in daily contact. Both parents have also discussed attending a UFC fight together. All right, because that's what we do in the Trump White House. We have a UFC fight after discovering their shared passion for UFC and MMA. Apparently, Nathaniel was trained in MMA since he was 4 years old and is a jiu-jitsu champion in the U.S. Open Jiu-Jitsu World League. He liked UFC fights like me and my dad and his dad. One of the things we're all planning to do is go to a fight together, meet up for that, so the 4 of us will go. According to Summit, Ryder's father, Shane, is a retired firefighter. Oh, that's where he gets it from. So, good news story. Hope to see them both at the White House. That's going to do it for us today, but fear not, my friends. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. Reloaded is up next. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.